not long after our colleague, the Wall Street Journal reporter Evan Gershkovich, was detained by the Russians, we began to count off his days in captivity. Now, sadly today, our tally reaches 400 days. Let's find out more about how he is doing with Gráinne McCarthy, Chief Digital Editor for International Coverage at the Wall Street Journal. Morning to you.
Hi there. Thanks for having me.
You're very welcome. What is the, people will occasionally see in the Times photographs of Evan appearing in court in Russia. What is the latest on the process for keeping him?
Yeah, we got eyes on Evan last week. He was in Moscow, in a court in Moscow again, where we appealed his pretrial detention. We've gone through this on many occasions over the past 13 months. And once again, the court rejected our appeal. So we saw Evan. It's always kind of heartening and heartbreaking to see him on these occasions standing in a glass cage in court. But he was smiling. There was clearly someone in the court and some journalists there to cover the proceedings. And he saw someone that he knew or some people that he knew. And he made this heart sign and we published it on our front page. And he's just kind of an incredible person and an inspiration to all of us. But where we stand in terms of these bogus court proceedings is that he is still in pretrial detention until at least the end of June. And then we don't know what the next step is then. Is the case going to go to trial, or is we're just in the dark really on the next steps.
And what about contact with his family? Does he have any? Is he allowed any telephone contact? Anything? Do you know?
No telephone contact. So we have no sort of direct ability to sort of speak to Evan. But he's being kept in a high security, sort of notorious prison in Moscow, known for its isolationist tendencies. But we do have indirect contact with Evan. We have some very amazing local lawyers in Moscow who get in to see him about once a week. We also can write letters to Evan, and his family obviously communicates very regularly with him through those letters, but others can also write letters to him. So his family have a lot of contact with him that way. The US Embassy in Russia, the US ambassador gets in to see Evan for consular access roughly once a month. So, people can write to Evan and he does write back. He has to write back handwritten letters. Everything that gets to Evan is translated into Russian, and a group of his friends help with that. They're incredible. And then everything he writes back is handwritten and in Russian. But there's really nothing better on your day than getting a letter from Evan.
Goodness me, that's fascinating. I did not know that. An American journalist held in Russia. What is the level of interest politically within American politics, within the White House? Do they have any interest in it?
Oh yeah, the White House, the Biden administration are very much on the front foot on this. This is unfortunately a facet of Vladimir Putin's Russia, of nabbing a journalist a 32-year-old American citizen who works for a major news organization such as our own. He was fully accredited to be a journalist in Russia, accredited by Russia's foreign ministry. So the Biden administration is extremely engaged on this and very much, like in talking or seeking to do everything they can to secure Evan's release. Unfortunately, we appear to live in this kind of era of hostage diplomacy, and Evan is a pawn in this kind of game of chess that's playing out geopolitically. Last weekend, the White House Correspondents Association dinner was on. It's a very big glitzy event in Washington, and Evan's parents were there. President Biden mentioned Evan in his speech, and he also mentioned him in the State of the Union. So one of the reasons we are remaining incredibly active to keep Evan in the public eye, and we appreciate all the support from yourselves and others, is really to keep the pressure on the Biden administration also.
Of course. Gráinne, thank you very much. That's Gráinne McCarthy, Chief Digital Editor for International Coverage at the Wall Street Journal, talking about Evan Gershkovich.
наши. Как родители, можете сказать, как вам?
Evan! When do we want it? Now! What do we want? Free Evan! When do we want it? Now! What do we want? Free Evan! When do we want it?
Female fans are all like 65 years old, so like my wife isn't super worried about that.
I think so, but we're at least 10 days. Turn the corner.
Oh, really?
But I don't know if it's late.
I guess that's now in the case, but if they don't want to, then there's no way to enforce it.
To be on this side of it, you know, where you're like trying to gin up media interest.
Yeah.
I'll come out and start a bit.
Good to see you here. Are you actually covering this?
We just want the world to know that we're thinking about Evan, that we want him to be released, that journalism is not a crime, and that he was doing nothing wrong. We're here because we just want world leaders and policymakers around the world to see that people in America care about Evan and press freedoms, and that we're here as a union because we believe strongly that everyone has a right to journalism. It's been 2 weeks, and for 2 weeks he's been locked up. He hasn't been able to reach his family. He hasn't been able to be given freedoms. He wasn't able to celebrate Passover, and we just think that's such a travesty, and it's not fair for a journalist who did nothing wrong to be locked up in Russia. The U.S. government has said that they want him to access consular access, and we just hope that the process will continue, and we hope that the U.S. government can do everything they can to fight for his freedom.